Caleb and Alan have been really busy actually doing this work while the conference is happening. So I'm gonna tell you what it is, and then they're gonna actually tell you the interesting stuff. I'm just filling in so that they didn't have to prepare. So, sorry, maybe I should go back. We are doing a piece of work in Kenya, which we're calling zKE. It's a piece of work that came out as a response to the protests right after the finance bill, and a series of conversations about that basically went like this. People were saying to us, we're hearing a lot of young Kenyans talking on social media, but it's not making any sense, and we don't really know what they're saying, and they're not really asking for anything that is tangible. And our response was, maybe you're not listening in the right way, or maybe you're not knowing how to listen, because actually there is a lot of structured things that are happening out there, and there are a lot of policy proposals. Maybe we need to find a way to move those conversations into a space that makes the connection with government and policymakers easier, also with the UN. But those views are being expressed. And so we talked to some of our partners or colleagues in Kenya. Siasa Place is an organization that works with youth in Kenya. zKE Digital is an organization that, amongst other things, runs a radio program that has a lot of audience. And we came up with this idea of maybe, could we come up with a home for sustained and meaningful engagement for youth in Kenya that was both an online and offline network with its own branding, that it was independent, that was not about the organizations that were running it, but that was just a movement for engagement. We said we would want to do this connecting offline and online spaces. So could we go to where youth were already talking about issues and connect that to a space where they could actually structure views and policy answers? And so this was the idea of essentially connecting youth assemblies and nationwide conversations on radio and in social media spaces with a deliberative digital space and a WhatsApp channel to bring it all together. So that's what it is. Now I've described it. So, Caleb, how does AI help to capture and understand the views that are being expressed by zKE?
All right, so we use 3 platforms. So we've used 2 already. So the first one is a platform called Talk to the City. So how it works is we ask for feedback on what people want to talk about. So we give them a hook. We ask them, have you ever paid a bribe? Have you ever paid a bribe in whatever situation in your own country? And that opened up the conversation on WhatsApp and on social media. And then we followed up with that was a hook question. The follow-up question was, what would you like to talk about as a Kenyan? All right, we've asked you, now you tell us what you need to talk about, right? So we collected the views from voice, text, social media. So voice, that meant somebody on WhatsApp could submit a voice note. Social media, you could go in and comment, put a video, and text, you could just submit a text on WhatsApp. We collected all that text, voice notes, we put them in this platform called Talk to the City, and what it does, it clusters all the feedback into themes and topics. And then we picked the top 4, okay? And the idea of the top 4 is just so that we prioritize, because there are so many things that, we just had, this was a pilot. So that's the first tool. The second tool is Police. So Police, once we have a topic that we want to discuss, then now we go deep into the topic. So the first topic was education, right? So we are asking them, how can you envision a better education system in Kenya, right? So they provide ideas that are, that would go into policy. So multiple ideas, and then when the multiple ideas go into Police, we open up the multiple ideas to other Kenyans who can then vote. They agree, disagree, they pass if they're not sure, or they also submit something that they think has not been captured. Or they can tweak an idea that is already there and say, I like this, but I want to make it better. So copy that, add it, and then get other people to vote. So once you have that voting, it's more like a voting system, then you're able to see where people agree, which policies people agree on, and which ones they disagree on. So that's Police. And then the other one that we're about to use is called Remesh. And Remesh is now, it happens real time. So Police is asynchronous. You can do it anytime, any place. But Remesh happens at the same time. So where you have people basically chatting to each other, submitting the content real time. And it also has a civic education component that allows people to learn about the particular policy or question that you're posing and where it's going, and the whole process.
Okay. So, Alan, what happened when we talked about bribery?
Yeah, and before I just do talk about the bribery thing, so for the technical people in the room, one of the things that I think was really interesting personally to me is that because we knew that the audience was youthful, right? These are people that are young. What we did is we created a WhatsApp bot. And this WhatsApp bot basically, had a flow of questions that it was asking. So it was interactive, had emojis, and we had it in different multiple languages in Kenya. And we found out to be really, really intuitive. So when people start chatting with the bot, they submit the comments much, much more easily. The first question we asked was about bribery, and we thought it's because bribery is an important, it's a very critical issue in Kenya. And one thing that we realized after asking this question is that there was a lot of engagement. You can see on our TikTok, on the zKE TikTok platform, like almost 200,000 people within the first day were able to interact with that piece of content. And many of them now are able, when we did the analysis, we were able to learn that, content such as related to law enforcement, how law enforcement is treating the youth, how law enforcement is treating different citizens, that actually contributed to the highest level of the conversations around bribery, about getting services such as passports, when you go to get government services, that was another highly contributed topic. And this really enabled us to have like a micro view of each individual's things that are really worrying Kenyans about this particular topic.
So how are we co-designing this with youth, and why is it important to co-design it? One thing that I didn't say in the start, because this is an unprepared talk, is that actually this phase one is being funded by the UN's Resident Coordinator's Office as part of their interest in finding ways to better engage youth. And if you've worked with UN, you know that you often get asked for a proposal. And we said, we'll give you a proposal for the process, but we don't want to give you a full proposal because it doesn't make sense to talk about youth engagement and not engage youth in the design. Go.
So the youth come in when we're trying to think of what should happen in terms of what are the platforms you're using, what are the questions you should be asking. At one point, even the question about bribery had to be decided by the youth. We tabled it, and then we said, you know what, we're not the right people to be asking this question. Let's ask if the youth think this is a nice question to ask other youth, right? So always vetting the whole process and making sure that the youth are also like signaling it, like, you're going in the right direction, you need to tweak here, you need to change here, this is not clear, this is too technical, all these things, so that as you're building, as you're asking questions, as you're connecting the bot, the Facebook pages, the social media platforms, and the AI tools, we are cognizant of the fact that this is not necessarily a project for the UN, it's a project for the people, and we kind of want to get their feedback coming in.
And maybe just one thing to add about it is what you mentioned about ground truthing, some of the questions that we are looking at. So we've talked about the tech a lot, but there was a lot happening offline. So Siasa Place, one of the partners that you've seen on the slide, was actually going and holding, we call them youth barazas or assemblies, where they were going to different counties within Kenya, and they have like a sample of different youth, and they talk to them, ask them questions, and when you collect those feedbacks, we now put them on the deliberative tech platforms, which then enables us to get more views online or digitally.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I thought we had one more slide. So then I'm just going to ask you, so Caleb, we've just had a really interesting development in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. So we were asked to, there's a process happening in Kenya right now where people are getting views, the government is collecting views on public participation. There's a public participation bill that is ongoing and it's closing on today. So we started it 2 days ago, and we brought that process into this process just to see, can it happen in a real world scenario where we are not just piloting, but we are also testing like a real world scenario. So we were just getting views. So right now we're actually submitting real time the draft. We've just got in 500 people come in and just start voting on the poll. Is still on. They saw the poll is open and they said, keep it open. We can submit the first draft, but keep it open because people can still submit after the deadline. Just to show that this is real time, it's happening and it's already feeding into an existing process. And it's capturing the views of the youth who would otherwise not participate in these processes. There were usually like 15 people in a room, but now we have hundreds and it's still ongoing. So, yeah.
Hope is to get thousands, right?
Thousands, yeah.
Like the Attorney General held this town hall and was kind of like had one of the people who we're working with, one of the social media influencers came in and showed that. And it was kind of this moment of like, no, you could have a lot more people in this room. So we appreciate you listening to us. This was an unprepared talk, but hopefully it was interesting nonetheless. Thank you.